Go live. Well, it looks like it's working.
Looks like we're live.
It looks like we're live. We're live on the internet, the worldwide. So thank you both for joining me on the BTS Creative Academy podcast. This is episode 154.
Wow.
And
we were so proud of episode 57 on our podcast, but 154 is incredible.
Well, you'll get there, and this is what it's all about. And maybe, you know, if you like what we talk about in this episode, this could be your episode as well. So 55 for you guys.
Yeah.
So today we have, you guys are the musical, I'll get my mouth around this. Yeah. Musical Lyrical Lingo podcast.
Yes.
That's it. Yeah.
When you understand it a lot of times, it gets easier.
The more you say it, you got to get your tongue around it. I did a little clip while I was walking this morning to like say, guys, we're going live, and I had to do it 3 or 4 times.
It's fine. We don't edit our podcast, as I'm sure most of our listeners or yourself know. So we make mistakes all the time.
We just make it up sometimes, to be honest. The name, it could be a different name each week, but sure.
Yeah. But that's all I'm doing with this. Every time I do this, I'm just making it up as I go along, just seeing what comes. So I've been listening to your podcast since I discovered you guys on TikTok.
Yeah.
I've seen your clips on there, and I started listening in, and because I love musical theatre, I love theatre, and I love to hear what you guys have got to say about it. But one of the things I really loved about your podcast was hearing and listening into the friendship that you guys have.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's really special, and actually something that we love as well.
Yeah, we're very fortunate, and like we have been friends from a really young age, like 5, 6 years old, and then you know, when we reached adulthood and we ended up, you know, going into what ventures we went into job wise, we didn't see a huge amount of each other until Lauren had the idea for this podcast, and now like I see too much of her, to be quite honest with you. It's like, it was lovely. Like the podcast has like brought us back round to being very much in each other's lives a lot again, which is really nice.
I think that's it. Whenever we first met, we probably would have spent about 6 out of the 7 days together, with being at school and stage school and maybe doing shows like during the week. So we were pretty much in each other's pockets. And then, as Timothy said, just adulthood just changed, and we still seen each other, you know, maybe at shows and whatever. But and birthday parties, you know, the usual adult times you see your friends. And then this has just been really nice, where we're like, just slotted back into those like 15-year-old selves, where we still bickered as if we were like in the classroom, which is quite funny, because I bumped into our drama teacher recently, and she said, I'm listening to your podcast, and it just makes me think that we're back in drama class, because you are just as annoying to each other as you were back then.
It works.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That sounds so nice that you've managed to reconnect through doing this creative thing, having a chat about the stuff that you love, and it's brought you both back together. That's just lovely. And if nothing else comes ever of the podcast, that in itself is beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah. There's a bit of selfishness to our podcast, and it's almost like rehab for us. It's like an hour in our busy week where we just like sit and have a bit of a chat, have a bit of crack. We're from Northern Ireland, so crack is like our, you know, fun and enjoyment.
Not anything else.
Just thought, I need to explain that one.
Explain that to the Southern Englishers from where.
Yeah, we just have a bit of fun and talk about what we love, which is musical theatre, and it has been such a huge part of our life and our childhood and growing up, really. So it's great. I mean, we've had fun so far, so long may it continue.
Yeah, and I think that's the important part, is especially as a creative person, which you are as well, Martin, it's like, it's hard whenever you get drawn into like real life, or you know, maybe the creative side of you isn't as predominant as it maybe used to be. So this has allowed us to take time and find like a hobby again, because like we're in our mid-30s, maybe late 30s, and sometimes you just kind of struggle with trying to find that identity, because you've tried to be so many different people throughout your life. So this is fun.
I completely resonate with that as well. I'm 40 this year, and I've had to do jobs that aren't creative in my time. And when you can find a way back to that creativeness, you really start to feel like you're your true self within that, don't you?
Yeah.
And it's amazing, isn't it? Just by having conversations, how I find this a creative thing. Doing this,
yeah.
it's you have to use your imagination, and you have to play with it like you do with the other creative things that you do. But where I wanted to start with this is I wanted to let people know what your podcast is about, because it's got this lovely name. It's got these two friends, but in a nutshell, for anyone that's discovering you for the first time, what is the Musical Lyrical Lingo podcast?
Great.
LJ, because this was LJ's idea.
So it's about what musicals have taught us. So it started from, we were heavily involved in Joseph whenever we were younger. And I remember hearing that word fratricide for the first time in one of the songs. And I was like, what does that mean? And it taught me something. So then I thought, actually, musicals do that all the time. You come across new words, new phrases, it references maybe something from history. So I was like, there's actually a podcast in this. So it's just about learning and what musicals have taught us along the way. So whether it taught us something whenever we were age 4, age 14, or now, like in our 30s, just discovering something for the first time.
And it's quite interesting when we would normally we would choose a musical for each episode. And it's quite interesting the learnings, how different they are depending on when we were first introduced to that show. So if it was a show like Joseph, our stage school would have been used for the UK touring productions each year when they would have come to Belfast. So the things that we learned from Joseph are probably quite immature and young compared to, there's musicals that we are researching for a podcast now that we're still learning. We're going, oh, I didn't realize, when you listen to the soundtrack again, you go, oh, what does that mean? And then when you actually do a bit of research, you're going, geez, we're still learning from musical theatre and what, the content of the lyrics is. So yeah, it's interesting. We're lifelong learners, isn't that what they say?
Yes, yeah, and I find that really interesting as well, how this stage in our life, I seem to be, and I'm meeting lots of other people like yourselves that are very open to learning, and even more so than when we were younger.
Yeah.
I was
into it naturally rather than being forced. You're not sitting in a school environment or a classroom, somebody telling you that you need to know this and learn this.
And it's your chosen subject as well.
That's it. Yeah, it's something you want to know more about, or you enjoy spending the time, looking into and studying and researching.
So what
if you didn't continue to learn, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I find this all so fascinating. This place of discovery that we can be in with all of this. So what's been your out of your podcast? You've done 54, 55 episodes now. When did you start to, because I know for me there was like a moment where I was like, yeah, this is what I'm doing now. This is my thing now. I remember just like, I didn't actually know it at that exact moment, but when I reflected, I was like, that was it. I'm now a podcast host. This is now what I do. Did you have that moment?
I think I'm still not, struggling is the wrong word to use. I'm still working my head around the fact that this is something that we now do, because I mean LJ was dead keen on it, and she had the idea and she came to me and I went, oh yeah, sure, what do you want from me? And I was like, if all you need from me is to come and sit down and talk nonsense about musicals for an hour, I'm in completely. I suppose for me, it was at the end of our first season that we went, oh my goodness, we actually got through that. And, no episode that we did, was it difficult to talk about things, or it just ran naturally. We didn't plan anything, we just arrived and we hit the record button. We don't edit our episodes and we just let it fly.
Yeah.
And like some of the stuff we talk about and some of the tangents we go on are ridiculous.
Yeah, so I heard on the other day you was having a debate about the beard.
Yeah, exactly.
And it wasn't necessarily it doesn't
and
necessarily
you let into like daft stories where you're like, oh my goodness, I've really embarrassed myself. But it just is fun. And I think it was at the end of season 1 for me that I went, oh, actually, we can still keep doing this. Like there are people listening, there are people enjoying it. You know, the feedback we're getting is really great. And selfishly for us, or for me anyway, I absolutely love it. So, you know, I love spending time with LJ and just having a bit of fun. So probably at the end of season 1 for me.
An excuse to sit down with your best friend. That's lovely.
I think that's it too. And now what I'm finding is I'm maybe bumping into somebody that I haven't seen for a while and they go, oh, here, I've listened to a couple of your episodes. You two are great together. And I'm like, why are you listening to my podcast? You don't like musicals? Or, but it's somebody in work saying that their girlfriend was listening to it because I was like, oh, I have a podcast. They're like, actually, are you Musical Lyrical Lingo? I was like, oh my gosh, yes. So, I think I really enjoy all the creative side. So I also run a couple of businesses and I enjoy Canva and like going on to like social media and making everything. So because I'm maybe not as involved, I'm more like a stage mum now. I'm not as involved in the musical theatre side performance as I would have been whenever I was younger. I'm still being creative through social media channels, through podcasts, and I'm really enjoying that side. So yeah.
Lauren could always talk, to be honest, like even from, you know, the age of 5 or 6, like she could always just like talk and, you know,
it never makes sense.
Like, you know, hold the conversation and like lead the way. So I knew coming into this with her, it was never going to be an issue because even if I sat going, like she would just be able to
drive it along. Yeah. I think there's two types of people that come into this podcasting. The ones that can talk and have that freedom of expression within, you know, not much. There's not much like there's not a break switch between the brain and the voice.
Yeah.
It just like and then there's the others that can listen and absorb and maybe drive the conversation in a certain direction. And I feel like that's something that's always been me, someone that can listen rather than do the talking, which puts me in the good position to be here to share what you guys have got to say.
Well, I think that really comes across in your podcast because I feel like whenever you are interviewing your guests, there's that intensity that you're listening and you're wanting them to talk and tell their story. And I feel that that's where you get that realness from your podcast, which I really enjoy watching and listening to. So your skill is wonderful.
I'm interested. When did you go, oh, actually, I'm now a podcaster? Like, when did that realization come for you?
I started in the very beginning in the first 14 episodes are friends, people that I'm close to, people that I know. And the 15th episode, I think it was, I'm probably wrong now. But the 15th episode was someone that I'm an acquaintance with, someone that I know, but is not a friend. I'd been to his acting workshops. I'd been to he's an acting teacher, an acting coach, and I've been to his sessions a few times, and I invited him along, and I didn't know him on a personal level, and I wasn't sure if I could connect to someone that I didn't know like that, and I did. We connected really well. We had a really insightful and an amazing conversation, and just partway through this, I was like, "This is the thing that I'm doing now." It's just like a light bulb moment and an awakening to, I'm really enjoying it as well. And it was just, and it was something that I was never confident talking to new people prior as well. Even though I was an actor and, you know, everyone thinks actors have to be extroverts, which I'm not. I'm not an extrovert, I promise. And I haven't got lots of confidence, I promise. But everyone thought I did. And new people I shied away from. New people or people that weren't in my immediate circle, I wouldn't have much to say or connect with.
We kind of did the same thing, didn't we? Like our first couple of guests, like we try every so often to pop in, you know, a episode where we have a guest on, but we started with those closest to us, and I think then we had a local comedian that had kind of reached out, and we had reached out to them, and he was like the first guest that, you know, there wasn't that safety blanket or that comfort blanket there, and it was like once we got through that, we went, oh, actually we can approach other people now that we don't necessarily know, in the hope that they'll you know come on and share their story and what they've learned from musicals. So
that's it, exactly. It's that moment that I stepped out of my comfort zone.
The
moment that I stepped out, because I run a community theatre near to where I live, and I record most of them from the theatre, and so I'm in my theatre, I'm with my friends, and that's quite comfortable, and that got me kind of going and eased me into it. But yeah, the moment that I stepped out of that is where it opened up and something new happened. Yeah, so it's stepping out of your comfort zone, isn't it? I think is where the moment of achievement or the moment of a new direction comes.
Yeah, I suppose just came into this venture not really knowing what we were doing or how you do it. How do you be a podcaster? Like we just literally sat down and recorded, and even like, you know, like the technology that we used at the beginning compared to what we're using now, it's like, oh, we were just winging it like for a wee while, you know, like just we'll see how this goes. I think like I thought, oh, we'll do this and like our friends will listen, you know, our listeners will be the people who know us, the others that we grew up with in our, you know, our local stage school. You know, I would be involved in amateur dramatics as a choreographer, and I thought maybe some of those people who are involved in that kind of thing, they'll listen. But it was when we started to see, okay, there are people listening in this country and that country. I'm like, that was weird for me. I was like, how did they hear about our podcast? And then, you know, our listener, you know, figures started to grow and grow. So I went, oh, actually, we're properly doing this now. But I just thought it would be our friends that listened, you know, for a long time.
It's strange for me. I didn't, when I started doing this and I came up with this idea of giving it a go, I did, the technology wasn't there either. I just recorded it on my mobile phone in the first episode. And in fact, the first episode, the microphones didn't work. So it's just purely on my mobile phone. And then I was still making like loads of technical glitches in the beginning as well. And I didn't consider that. I didn't even think about people would be interested to listen. But I was interested to listen. So then it's like, of course people are going to be interested in this. There are going to be people out there that I'm interested in creative things, hence why I want to talk to creative people. And of course, there are going to be others that are interested in that as well. Same with you. There's tons of people out there that are interested in musical theatre and tons of people that are interested in friendships as well. That's something that I really like about your podcast is the friendship. You don't hear that on a lot of podcasts. You hear a lot of the advice and the you know, quite a few of them are quite good at being authentic, but the friendship is quite rare to get that. So that's a really nice thing that you guys have got going there.
Oh,
so
that's
going back to the beginning of your friendship then. So you say you met when you were 5?
Yeah.
What happened? How did that look?
Good old Bugsy Malone.
Yeah.
It was in theatre.
Yeah, it was in theatre. Yeah. So Lauren always likes to make it very clear that she was here first. So we have a local stage school in Bangor, Northern Ireland, where we're from, called McMaster Stage School. And Lauren was already
a member.
She was already a member. And then I arrived in. My dad had done a lot of musical direction himself. So I kind of grew up with that. So it was probably a natural progression that they would shove me into a stage school, you know, on a Saturday, 9 to 5, get rid of Tim. And that's where I first met her in her lovely pink Bugsy Malone outfit with her wee button hat.
Yeah.
Dancing a dream, pushing all the other girls out of the way because Lauren always liked to be at the front.
That is terrible.
It's true.
Oh, I remember Timothy slapping his leg, like pushing his way to the front.
I was going to say, what did you, LJ, what did you make of Tim when you first met him?
Well, there wasn't very many boys in stage school, and it certainly wasn't as big as it is now. So you kind of knew everybody. And I remember him being he wasn't there for Wizard of Oz. So I remember it being like, oh, this is new. And it also felt like there was a lot of new people joined for that year. So it was kind of like getting through all the new people. Oh, that's him. Oh, he's that person's son. Oh, right, okay. And he's got like 5 parts and I've only got 2. Is that because he's a boy? You know, just all those wee little things. But I just thought from then, literally, our friendship just grew.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just, we were the same age. We obviously were at Stage School all day, and it was somewhere where, okay, your parents probably sent you, but you chose to be there.
God, yeah, like we loved it.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
You know, 5 o'clock came and I was like, oh, we have to go home now.
Mhm.
Like, can we not just keep tap dancing and singing and having fun?
But I always thought Timothy was like a real show person, and at the end we had like somebody come on and do like the ballot, and he was really funny. Well, Timothy was like over the top laughing, and I was like, that boy laughs and everything, but like you were like this. It was just like a little chuckle, would have been fun.
Lauren's always been more of a straight actress, you know. She likes the more deep, serious, you know, material, whereas give me a song and dance number and I'm happy. Like,
you've both got your individual strengths that you. So how many shows would you say you've done together then over the years?
Oh, Lordy days. The thing is, like, in Stage School, we would have always done our end of term show, but we also, there was like a wee trip of us that would have gone to every nursing home in Northern Ireland, every opening of an envelope, every town, like May Day celebrate, like everything.
Easter parade, any sort of like D-Day. We also had these little like snippets that we would have done. So one was the 40s, so it was all army songs. So that was always great to do, like in the nursing homes, because it obviously brought back memories. We had Oklahoma, we had My Fair Lady, we had
Pearly Kings and Queens,
which was great. And then we were always commissioned. So for like big balls, you know, like big companies, maybe wanted some entertainment at the beginning or in between the meals. So we had like a French number, like Can. We had the Hollywood. Irish. We had Hooray for Hollywood, the Caribbean. There was loads of stuff that people said, could you do this? And our dance teacher, most fabulous woman that anybody could ever have met, was like, yep. And we rehearsed it and we did it. And we maybe only learned it like 3 weeks beforehand, but we were full costumes, ready to go.
We were just rolled out like all the time, which sounds like, oh, maybe that's a bit iffy. Like, you know, these young children, like being like, honestly, there would have been weeks where you maybe had like 2 or 3 different, you know, events or shows to go to, or nursing homes throughout the week. But we literally adored it. Do you know what I mean? Like, we were like, yeah, more.
And we danced in odd places, like, you know, we would have done leisure centres on like the Monday night, and then on Saturday we were opening up a car showroom, and then we maybe had, you know, a couple of nursing homes, and then one, it was a wedding. You know, it was just so bizarre. And at the time, I don't think we understood how, not strange, but how unique that experience was.
Because it doesn't happen anymore, you know, like now that doesn't happen just in general. Like, you know, even, you know, like places aren't as open to opening the door and bringing groups in. Do you know what I mean? It just doesn't happen. No. Also, there's not the commitment there from, you know, the younger generations now. Like, they're involved in so many different things that it just wouldn't work. Yeah. I think the best.
Do you think that's a shame? Do you think that's a?
Oh, I think because
missing something
that we learned and the camaraderie that we had, and the closeness of our friendship group, which is linked, like most of my friends are Stage School friends, you know, that we've grown up with. I think because we were in each other's lives so much, because we were doing all of those different things, kids just don't have that anymore. That, to me, they're a bit flighty. Do you know what I mean? Like, they've got their 1 or 2 friends, and then it's cliquey, and whereas we just lived in each other's back pockets.
And also, I think a a lot of kids try and, oh, I'll go to this for tap and I'll go to this for jazz and I'll do this for ballet. Our stage school was everything, apart from ballet, but it was everything. But it was more, you were learning like professionalism. So even now, like, so I would chaperone a bit for different companies, and even just seeing like kids not knowing to hang on the blacks or step back. If the audience can see you at the side of the stage, then like you're too far, step back. It's just all those little skills that we were taught being involved in professional productions as well as our own stage school. But if you're at loads of different groups, like even community theatre groups, you're not maybe getting the same teaching, so it's maybe a little bit harder.
It's a lot of mixed messages, isn't it?
I think so.
I think
Tell me about what they did for you with you touched on the connections there with people, with the friendship groups that you've still got now, the people that you met when you were younger. What did that mean to you as you grew up?
It was my life.
Yeah, I think that's it. And you bared everything, and like literally, it was you were getting changed in like the tiniest little room, and you were all just doing it. Or if you'd had a bad day at school, it was okay. You were going to go and see those people later on because you had a nursing home performance, and that would have picked you up. Or you just got to know each other really well. Like I can still look at Timothy and a couple of our other friends, and I know when something's wrong. And it's more like a family feeling rather than just friendship. I know by, how they're standing, how they're looking, and I just feel them. I just feel every single part of them. And I think it's just from spending so much time together.
I think it's that support network that was built within our stage school group, because LJ mentioned their school was not great for me, to be quite honest with you. I was a young boy who liked to sing and dance. Like school Monday to Friday was hell on earth, but I knew on a Saturday I was going to my people. Do you know what I mean? I was going to my friends who enjoyed doing the same things. I could talk to them about things that had happened that week that I couldn't talk to anybody else about. It was just a real support network. Do you know what I mean? And so
100%, yeah. Same for me. I didn't get on too well at school either, and I felt like when I was at school, I felt a little bit alien. I felt like completely different to everyone else. Like I had one main friend, and then that we got on because we had a love for film, and so there was a connection there. But no one else really kind of understood me, or I understood them. And so when I found theatre, I found all these other people that all of a sudden we connected, and we had things to talk about that were in common, and I could express myself in a different way than I couldn't at school, and it felt freeing.
Yeah,
which is so important for young people to have, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, certainly in the early years of secondary school, I didn't express myself at all. Like I literally went to school, did my classes, and came home again. Like I wasn't myself. I think I couldn't keep the facade up for long enough. So like the later years, just before maybe lower and upper sixth, I was a bit more myself, which is then when it was the hardest time for me, because I was like, I can't like be a wee shadow anymore, but also I can't be myself because that's not sitting well with everybody else. It was so I was like, just Wednesday, Saturday, well, how many wee shows do we have this week that I can just go and like forget about what's going on and just express? I think musical theatre in itself is great for that expression as well, and for being somebody else other than yourself, putting on a role and just being able to let it all out there.
And I think it teaches you skills such as teamwork, and that's one of our transversal skills, which you teach all over the place, no matter what subject you're doing. But it's teamwork and reading people and getting on with people that maybe have one common interest, like musical theatre, but they maybe also are really into like Star Wars, or also really into like playing a musical instrument or reading or whatever. But you have to get on, and if you don't get on, the performance is going to fail. So you are put into these like high pressured situations, and you just do it, and you respect one another. You listen to what they have to say, you work out your problems, because there's always going to be problems, but you do it together, and then you create this magical thing at the end, and then you have that, so you move on to the next one.
Problems, the girls, they fought like cat and dog.
Terrible.
I was like the referee between them, going, right, okay, but like, yet the closest bunch, like, not like, even then you were still really close, but like, oh my goodness, the background.
Oh yeah, there's always drama in the theatre, isn't there? There's always,
there's always dramatic people.
Yeah, but like you say, I think it's that high pressure environment that brings us all together. So we have all these like issues and problems and different personalities, but we're all working to like a common goal. That with theatre, it must happen at a certain time, in a certain way, and everything must come together. And you find a way, don't you? You must. There's something in that, isn't there? I think in that high pressure moment of we've got to do this. We've got to put those issues to one side, for the show is going to start at 7:30.
That's it, and you just have to get on with it. And I think that is something that you've got to learn and certainly develop, because it is a skill, but we definitely learned so much. And even just, being able to talk to strangers, like not in a dangerous way, but like how many times within a school environment or even in a work environment do you have to maybe stand up and do a presentation, and you're being able to just say a few lines will help you do that, so you're talking English, talking and listening, maybe it wasn't as scary for you because you're just standing up performing. Well, somebody else, that's a massive, massive thing. Or doing a presentation in your workplace, you can do it because you've got that experience from the theatre.
Yeah, and I guess that's really important to note as well, because some people might think, I'm not going to send my kids to a musical theatre group because that's not what they're going to do when they're older. They're not going to go into musical theatre. But you've just touched on some really important transferable skills.
Yeah.
So what skills have you guys, because you said yourself, LJ, that you've got other businesses, and what about yourself, Tim? What else do you do?
So I'm a teacher by trade. I'm a primary school teacher. So just like Lauren said, the whole idea of going into your first placement, being in a classroom with 30 little faces looking up at you, like for a lot of people who were on my course, like they were petrified of that moment. And I was like, yeah, no problem, it's fine. Because at that point I had already started, LJ eventually, transitioned and left stage school. I never did, because I got to the age of like 18, and then Sharon, who was running stage school at that time, was like, would you not just stay on and like help out in classes? And so then I did that, and then I moved to being one of their dance teachers, choreographers, and I'm still there to this day. Lauren has returned because her 2 kids now go to stage school, so Lauren's back in the fold. Like she's never been away. But so I have never left stage school. So yeah, I teach, which is much easier because I had stage school, because I can communicate. You have to put on a show every day. You've got to make it engaging and motivate the kids, and it's a lot of, it's a play, from 9 o'clock to 3. And then I've gone on to choreography for different amateur companies, and, which, stand in front of a room full of adults, some who maybe aren't as open to the ideas that you're expressing, or they've had a bad day in work and they're like, why am I here? I'd rather be at home sitting on this sofa. It's helped me to be able to manage that room and, to engage them and to fire them up. So I owe a huge amount of my skills and my knowledge and my learning to stage school. And I don't think any of that would have been as easy for me if I hadn't had that from, the age of 6 up.
It sounds like you've really embraced it into your life, like 100%, haven't you?
It is probably the biggest part of my life, that creative side. I don't know what I would do if I didn't have that, but I've had it all, because thankfully my parents did put me into stage school at such a young age. It's been there my whole life. even before that, I remember going to, rehearsals and sitting beside dad at the keyboard and like just going, oh wow, what are these people in front of me doing? Like they're singing and dancing and they're wearing costumes and they're playing a part, and it's larger than life, it's bright, it's colorful. I was pretty much hooked from probably birth, to be quite honest with you.
As soon as you came out, you were singing and dancing. Yeah,
that's it. I had my wee tap shoes on, tapping away.
Yeah. Well, that was with my daughter. My daughter, the moment she was born, I knew she was going to be a performer. It just wriggling away to music, and it's just, I think it just is some people performing, isn't it? It's just within us, and we have to get it out.
Yeah, and it's just a form of expression, and it's that you're constantly learning. But another thing that I want to touch on that I really feel I learned was respect for people giving you orders, like, or telling you what to do. Like, obviously, we're millennials, so the generations after us probably aren't as good as us. That's just millennial talk, isn't it? Anyway. But we had, and still do, have so much respect for those that are in a position of authority. But understanding that they're telling you something to either keep you safe or to teach you so that you can be better. Their reason for saying you did that wrong is because you did it wrong. I need to respect that, and I need to try and do better. So I feel that's where I was able to bring that into my personal life and give everything a go. And I'm maybe not the best person at taking criticism, but I will eventually take it on board and change it.
I'm saying nothing.
I will. But if somebody has said, especially in theatre, somebody says, be quiet, or, here, this is what you need to do here, I'll go, okay, I need to do that, and listening to people. Not everybody has those skills, but I feel like we were taught taught by some amazing people and got to experience being in professional productions that not everybody gets the opportunity to do. And we realize how privileged and lucky we were. But yeah, like you said, like if somebody is hemming and hawing about sending a child to their local community theatre, just do it, because they will learn so many skills which will help them later on in life, and just that confidence to be able to give anything a go. Might not always succeed, which sometimes is better because you learn from your mistakes, but give it a go and something magical could happen.
Even the backing of arts within schools, I think that's really important as a teacher. I think the role of art and drama within the classroom is really, really important. I think it's the number one thing that I've discovered in my career that has helped, those quieter kids that maybe don't have very much self-esteem or confidence, like drip feeding that idea of role play or freeze frames or hot seating, where they're not being themselves, they're having to be somebody else. And when they push themselves out of the comfort zone to give that a go, like you notice then how their confidence and their self-esteem begins to grow. So that child who wouldn't have said a word at the beginning of the year, by the end of the year is actually able to stand in front of the class and, do a presentation or talk about a hobby or an interest that they have. And I don't think that happens without, obviously a safe environment, but like that role of the arts has played and drama has played, I think really helps children. And I think now there's a lot of children that can't socialize and can't talk. And I don't think the years of COVID where children weren't in school and they weren't interacting with others has helped them, so we're fighting that as well. Do you know what I mean?
More than ever, isn't it?
Yeah. Big time.
We've touched on that COVID, that period of time where all these children were separated, were at home, many alone at home, parents and stuff, but separated from their groups, and that could have done some serious damage. And so within the arts is where we can look to repair it, I'd like to think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Repair any damage that was done in that time for them.
Yeah, for sure.
And we talk a lot about, mental health is a subject that we talk about a lot these days, which is important for all of us. And where do you feel like that helps the younger people, the arts within mental health?
It just allows them to express themselves, and it's a distraction technique, isn't it? In a way, you know, if you're doing a bit of drama or singing or dancing, it's like an hour in their day where they're not, you know, mulling over whatever it is that is their issue or they're worried about. You know, they can forget about it. They can just have fun and express themselves and focus their energy and their attention on something else. And I think
and a purpose, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's an environment where they're going to naturally meet and interact with other people, which also helps, you know, talking to somebody else.
Yeah, I think so. So not only are they coming to maybe do a theatre or whatever in the arts, and they're doing that to take their mind off anything that is worrying them, they're then finding people who are maybe similar to them, and they eventually, hopefully, should be able to open up. And that's what we found. We really relied on each other in some very tough times in our lives. But like what I'd said at the beginning, we know whenever we're feeling a little like that, and we can have those conversations and allow that person to open up. So yeah, arts is special in loads of different ways. And I think it's only as you get older, you realize all those skills are still with you.
Yeah, you don't know them at the time, do you? There's no point when I started all this when I was 15, 16, did I go, oh, I'm learning so much here and I'm getting so many skills and I'm working out life. I didn't ever consider that until I look back. So I guess that's up to some of us older ones to kind of highlight it for them, so we can kind of maybe guide them in that direction. And I'm thinking about my son now. So my son's now 18, but he joined a local drama group called Class Act Theatre School. And when he started, he was very, very quiet and in his shell. But by the time he was 10, he got up at my wedding, stood on a chair and did a speech.
Amazing.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have done that if he hadn't have done the theatre school. He had a lot of help from his gran as well. She helped him a lot, so she's got a credit there to help with the confidence. But also the doing the theatre stuff. And he doesn't want to do theatre moving forward. Now he's 18. He's very mathematical, but it's given him skills that he can use in life, and he can talk to people, and he's very friendly. And I'd say that he's very open with people, and I credit that to being part of the drama school when he was younger.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so important.
Yeah, like I see it year upon year in stage school, like, you know, new children who join new, and by the end of the year they're a different child, like completely different. Because it's quick too. It doesn't seem, for most children, it seems to develop at quite a rate. It's not like they have to work on this for like 5 years and then, you know, you can see a marked difference. I think it's just that safe environment to just let go and, you know, be you and give new things a go and know that nobody's going to be judging you or looking at you or, you know, giving you a hard time. If it, you know, you land on your face, you know, it's fine. You get yourself up, dust yourself off, and you go again, and nobody really worries about it. Do you know what I mean? I think it's
there's a special place within theatre for support networks, isn't there, and connection. Definitely build something special. Yeah, like I say, for me, the best friendships that I've had are through theatre. They're the ones that have stayed around for life and will stay around for the rest of it, is through the connections that we make in the theatre world. There's something
away from her. She keeps dragging me back.
That's good. That's lovely. And because as adults as well, we're expected now, maybe we put the pressure on ourselves to go and do, you know, we've got responsibilities and we've got to pay bills and things and do normal jobs. So it's really great when you can be pulled back into it.
Yeah.
What about yourself, LJ? What do you do as your other job, your other business?
So I teach post 16. So, but usually in an environment where they maybe have struggled in school. So they maybe have been pulled out of school for a certain length of time just to try and get them smaller courses to try and build up their confidence, or they are moving on like as a stepping stone, and they maybe have like special educational needs. So still like that teaching, but it's a little bit more laid back, and we're maybe teaching some of those softer skills rather than I'm certainly not a maths or English teacher at all, but like customer service and creative and all of that stuff, like IT and whatever.
So how do you feel like your skill set from musical theatre has helped what you're doing now with these young people?
So adaptability, 100%. So, and I'm constantly reading my learners. So whenever they walk into the room, I can tell if they have a good day, if they're having a good day or a bad day, just by their body language. And I can see, am I going to be able to follow that lesson plan today? Or am I going to have to do something a little bit more, get them on their feet? Or are they totally disengaged? That role play that I have, you know, is not going to work. So I'm going to have to change that up. So I think just that, being flexible and adaptable, and as Timothy said, just stand in front of the class and just, you know, waffle for a little bit as a time filler, because maybe that activity that you had planned that should have lasted half an hour has only lasted 10 minutes because they're refusing to do any work. So yeah, just those adaptable skills, and I've really brought that in. And as Timothy said, I can talk forever. It doesn't always make sense, but I can at least talk.
Yeah. Which brings me back to your podcast then. So what's happening with your podcast at the moment? Where are you guys? You, like you say, you're at 54, 55 episodes. What is happening right now?
I think we would like to push the boat out a wee bit more, push ourselves out of that comfort zone we were talking about earlier, you know, and maybe get a few more guests that are in the industry that we know we don't know at all. You know, we know them because we've heard of them or we've seen them do things in the industry, but it would be nice to get, you know, a few more guests on like that. There's the potential of maybe doing a live recording from one of the theatres in the West End this year, so hopefully that might happen soon.
Just still in the works.
Out there in the universe, and you never know what might come. You know.
Yeah, so that's certainly what we're thinking. If you have anything to add there, because like Lauren is the brains behind it. Like I have to tell you, I arrive and just talk nonsense. Do you know what I mean? Like she's the one that's on the social, she's on the TikTok. Like I just do what Lauren tells me because that's what I've done since the age of 6. So no point that works now. You know, it works. So
yeah, and I think what we have really discovered from the podcast is how wonderful lyricists are and how amazing composers are. And it's not that we didn't have respect for those people. We obviously 100% did. But the whole podcast is maybe breaking down the lyrics and seeing what does that word mean, or what are they referencing in that. So we're not always looking at like a performance as such. We're maybe looking at just the music. So I would love to maybe get some more creative people on, and like you know, lighting designers, and how does that work? And you know, we've had a couple of interviews with people and talked about the audition process, and you know, we've gone through things like that too. But I would love to really start beefing it out a little bit, and getting loads of people from the industry just to kind of share their stories and see how, because I think if unless you're involved in theatre, you don't realize how many people are there. You've got your stage manager, you've got your lighting designer, you've got your director, your MD, you've got chaperones there to look after children, you've got costumes, you've got assistant costume, you know, there's just so many people. And a lot of the times, because of the stuff that we grew up in, it's that community theatre, and people are giving their time freely and willingly. And you go along, you maybe see somebody that you know in a show, and you walk out and you go, that was great, well done, but you don't realize that there was 50 people behind that stage making that 1 hour performance magical.
Yeah, no, there is. Yeah, but it's such a community, isn't there, that that it brings together theatre. Yeah, and it's wonderful that you're sharing that you're showing people that there isn't just the people on the stage under the lights. There is all the people behind it as well. And even there's like, I think there's like 3 or 4 layers to theatre, isn't there? You got the first layer on the stage, the people the audience are seeing. Then there's the people behind the wings. Then there's the people that are controlling the technology, the lights and the sound. Then there's the people that wrote the show, composed the music. It just goes on and on and on, doesn't it? And it's and those areas, those places, they really do need to have a light shined on them as well. Those outer circles.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it shows people that there is opportunity there for them to get involved, because not everyone wants to be on the stage, do they?
No.
That's it. And you don't always have to be on the stage. And in fact, your skills, for being able to control, the lighting, I wouldn't have a clue how to do any of that stuff. And I just think that's mesmerizing. You could teach somebody who's really into like engineering. They may be able to like help with that. And, I don't know. There's just so many skills.
There is, yeah. So who have you got lined up then? Is there anyone lined up at the moment, like technical wise, to come on soon?
A choreographer and a director. We'll maybe start with that creative layer first, and then maybe there's a few stage managers that we're going to approach. And so we're just at the moment we've got a list of people that we would like to kind of
a wish list,
and hopefully they say yes. Of course, we'll come on your podcast.
Only ask, aren't you? You can only
that's it. Yeah.
That's I mean,
we're still enjoying that kind of delving into the different shows. Like at this point, we were like, will we still have enough musicals? Like, are we going to run out of musicals? And the answer to that is no. I don't think if we were to do this podcast for the next 10 years, there will still be musicals that we haven't looked at. Do you know what I mean?
Like we're like 50 episodes in, and we haven't even touched on some of the really big musicals that everybody like nowadays knows. So because it's not that we've gone for obscure ones, it's just there are so many musicals. And sometimes we're, we forgot about that one, or what about this? And which is lovely that we have got material there that we can talk about for a long time, but we can also add in different elements from choreographers and directors, and get just different experiences and conversations going.
And
what does the process look like for you guys for setting up? Does all the discovery happen on the podcast, or is there like a build up to it? I know that Tim, you just turn up and chat.
Well, I have my book.
You have a book, right?
We do our own like kind of research. So we'll decide upon what musical we want to do next, and we go away separately and we delve into it, and we look at the lyrics again. If it's a show that we have previous experience of, either we've been in it or we've seen it, we will also talk about that. But we don't talk to each other about what we've discovered. So then the first time we share our musical lyrical lingos is on the podcast, and it's quite interesting. Sometimes we have the same musical lyrical lingo, we have the same learning, or sometimes I will have learned something and she'll look at me going, are you daft? How did you not know that? There's also, we've discovered a lot of misheard lyrics that, for years we've been singing these songs all wrong.
Oh, you yourself have been singing them wrong.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, we were also learning these musicals before Google, or somebody was just sitting beside a tape and like, I think this is what the lyrics are. So then we learned, like, especially in some of our songs for our dance trips, like we were singing whatever sounded like it needed to be, because you were learning from maybe like the 14-year-old while you were 10, and then you were that 14-year-old passing it on. So Dears knows what we were singing. So that's kind of become a theme about misheard lyrics and mispronunciations, because I'm terrible at that. Terrible.
And actually, I think by power of osmosis, as the recording process continues, I'm getting worse, and I blame her, because I was okay at the beginning with the whole pronunciations.
You're learning from each other, good and bad.
Yeah, like I've had some clangers, and I blame her, because I was okay when I started.
But I like the fact that we are separate whenever we're researching a musical, because I think that brings a vulnerability to it. Because when you're by yourself, you can go, oh, I don't know what that is, and write it down and then research it. While if you were doing that work together, and I go, here, I don't know what that is, and then somebody goes, what, you don't know what that is? You would kind of be afraid to then admit what you didn't know if you were doing it together. So it's nice that we've done the research before and we come together and then we can go, how did you not know that? But it seems like it's less harsh, I suppose.
I think it's so lovely of you at the beginning to kind of say about how the friendship, our friendship comes out in our podcast. And I'm not so sure that would come out as much if we had planned it together. It would be a lot more structured, because let's be honest, our podcast has a very, very loose structure. Yeah. I mean,
but I think that's what makes it special, because I don't think anyone wants to listen into factual information and just be told something. I think we like to discover things together, like what you're doing, and then the listener can also discover along the way with you. That's what I think is happening here on these. But that's why I think podcasts are taking off and booming and have become this new thing, is because I think we all enjoy discovery, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
And so you two are doing this discovery separately. You come together, you connect and find something new, and then the listener then comes in as well and discovers something on top of that, potentially.
And if not anything, it makes the listeners seem really smart, because then they go, how did they not know that?
Exactly,
like saying, if we didn't know it, there wouldn't be a podcast. The whole podcast is about learning and discovery.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and again, that's what I'm doing here as well. I'm discovering things every day and learning new things. I'm learning so much from you guys, and everyone I'm meeting has got something to offer in that sense of discovery and learning. It's amazing, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's lovely, and it makes that journey so much nicer as well, because you're not only learning yourself, you're helping others learn, and you have a real sense of achievement. I think, I love what you are doing and listening to everybody's stories. And there was one week, actually, what we were talking about in our podcast, it was in the Everything's Talking About Jamie, or Everyone's Talking About Jamie podcast, when we were talking about work of art.
Yeah.
One of your guests was talking about that specific art piece, the urinal. And I was like, how weird that, we are not like talking about the same thing, but yet we are. And we're in, if you were to do like Venn diagrams, there's that little crossover. It's amazing.
She loves the diagram.
Yeah. No, I've found things like that so fascinating as well. About like I had a situation yesterday where things were me and people were connecting, and I was like, how is this happening? A friend of mine, the second guest on the podcast, she talks a lot about connections and ripple effects of the universe and things like that. And then she told me about someone else's podcast to listen to. And I reached out to him 2 days ago. And on the same day, he reached out to her, not knowing the connection.
Oh,
and
wow.
And he's in Los Angeles as well. And there was just like this strange like connection thing going on, that it was like, how is this happening? And like you say about like talking about same subjects at the same time, and they come together. It might just all be a coincidence, or it might genuinely mean something.
I know.
I don't know, but I'm very curious to find out more.
It's creative and arty people kind of just get drawn to other creative and arty people.
Yeah. Do you think that's what it is then? It's the.
I think so. Yeah, I think you'll always find somebody like who's in that realm.
Yeah.
So actually, you just find each other.
So actually, I'm going to a podcast event, a podcast networking event. This week, and I was thinking, should I go? Shouldn't I go? I booked the tickets last night, paid for it, so I have to go now.
Yeah.
I was umming and ahhing a little bit, because again, every now and then I go back to that previous mind state that I used to have of, I'm not very confident and I'm not very good at talking to people.
Yeah,
and I forget that actually I have got the skill set to do that now. So I don't need to not have the confidence of that. So yeah, I'm going there to network, and obviously there are going to be other types of. It's all about podcasting. The podcasting show, it's called. So have you guys got any tips for me for connecting with people at this podcasting event?
Just be yourself. You're really easy to talk to. Like, you've nothing to worry about. The idea of that event would fill me with absolute fear, because I don't feel I'm at that stage yet where I could go and talk face to face with other podcasters. But you're more than ready for it, Martin. Enjoy yourself.
I kind of have that fear. Like it's like a thing in the brain that keeps telling me, no, I'm not good at doing this, and I'm like, shut up, brain. It's okay. It's
You're
okay.
154 episodes would say otherwise. So
yeah.
So
no, moved on.
I think you have to take that self-belief. I have another business where I do have to do a lot of networking, because I sell a product, and if I don't talk about my product, nobody's going to know about it. And I had to learn that, where I go, I'm not boasting, but if I don't start saying it and explaining the benefits of it, then nobody is going to know about it. So you need to take that on board. You need to use the network opportunity as an opportunity just to share your story and share what it is that you do, and trust in yourself that you know more than what you realize. I think a lot of times we go to, like CPD and training events, and then you sit back and you go, I knew all that. But at the beginning, you would have been like, I need to go and learn more, because I don't know enough. But then you come away and you go, actually, I did. I just needed the confidence to believe that I knew that. So yeah, Martin, like I said, I think you have a real skill there in listening and dragging, nonsense out of people. But no, I think you will.
Nonsense. We haven't talked nonsense on. In fact, this is probably the most sensible we've been.
I know. Yeah. You're on our best behavior.
You've made us raise our game, Martin. Thanks awfully.
Nice. I'm really enjoying it. I really do. I appreciate that, guys. That's very nice to hear, and maybe a much needed little pep talk before I go. I don't think there's any harm in that, is there? In giving each other a little pep talk and a little go, and you can do it.
You can. You 100% can. And do you know what? I look forward to hearing what you say about it on the socials.
So I'll put it on the socials, and I'll be sure to tell people there about you guys as well.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Yeah. We might be there next year. You never know. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like a good event. They've got James Corden's going to be there talking. Okay. So they've got some big names there doing talks. And yeah, even if I just come away learning, I might learn something.
Yeah, that's it.
I'd like this to grow. I am actually very proud of what I've been building here.
Yes.
So I'd like it to become bigger and better, and to do that, I know I need to learn some stuff. And I need to make some connections, and so that's my only hope from it, really. And to get rid of that negative self-talk as well. That would be nice.
That's it. Just make it smaller. Just make it. That's all you need to do. Just make that smaller. Negative thoughts. Just make them smaller.
Yeah. I guess they're always going to be there. That's what
I mean. I think it's sometimes we feel like they have to go away. Well, they're not. They're not ever going to fully go away. But if they just don't take up the majority part of our thinking, then I think they can get through things. But good luck for it all, and thank you so much for having us.
And if in doubt, just break into song and dance, Martin. Like that's all.
Well, I love watching musical theatre, but I'm terrible at it.
Okay.
I've been in one musical theatre show, West Side Story.
You too. That's a biggie,
and I was only in the chorus, but I don't know how I got in. I don't know. I think I had the right look, but I even remember one of the dancers that auditioned. I bumped into her a few days after the audition, and she said, "How'd it go for you?" Because I didn't get in. And I was like, "Oh, I got in," and she was like, "What? What? How the hell? How the hell did you do that?" Yeah, I'd love to be good at musical theatre, but I don't think it would be fair on the audience.
We all have our skills. We all have our channel. So.
Yeah. So, are you still doing musical theatre? Are you still doing shows?
I don't on stage anymore. I would be behind the scenes now, choreographing. I do a lot of choreography. Because I actually got to the point as an adult where I didn't have as much confidence as I did as a child on stage. And I went, I'm done with performing in front of people. And I was much more interested then in the creative side of things. So I kind of made that jump over. However, in the last year or two, I'm kind of going, I might like to give Treading the Boards a wee go, one final, go at it. I think I'm of an age now where I can play a few of those parts that I've always had in mind of, oh, wouldn't it be great if I could play this? Or so we'll see. Mm-hmm. What about you, Jean?
I don't do anything. I am more sort of like behind the scenes, and because the kids are involved, I enjoy that. So I feel like I'm, doing the podcast and helping with costumes and anywhere anybody sort of needs me. I love to help. Like I'm a really good helper. I can do this, I can do that, or I can learn how to do it so that I can do it for you. But yeah, so that's been nice. But I think unless there was a part that really called me, I don't think I could go out on stage again, which I suppose is a shame, but you never know. Watch this space.
yeah, that's very. I think that's probably about being in a stage of our life. I'm very similar. But then I really want to be on the stage, but I haven't actually been on the stage since 2016.
Okay.
Because I've been seeking professional work and keeping myself available for professional work that hasn't really paid off. And then we had COVID in between, and all of a sudden, all the years have gone by, and I am itching to get back on the stage. I'd like to find a way there, but at the same time, I say that same thing as you, LJ, that I want a part to call to me. I'm listening out for that part that resonates. Rather than because we do have to put a lot of time into it, don't we?
That's it. Real life sometimes gets in the way, and which is a shame. But that's why if it's the right part, you feel like you would make time for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, guys, as we look to wrap this up, if here's a hypothetical for you: we get in a time machine together, and we go and look at our podcasts 5 years from now. What would it look like?
Oh God, you can go first.
Oh my God.
It's just a dream. It's just a dream.
I would love that if we are still fortunate to be doing it and enjoying it in 5 years' time, that it's a podcast where up and comers, like people new into the industry, are wanting to get involved in. I think because we've been those young kids with dreams, I would love it to be a platform where somebody could come on and share what their skills were and what type of jobs they were interested in, and getting help for how to audition and land those dream roles. And yeah, I think so.
Mine's a bit more selfish. I'd love to be doing like live podcasts. I have my
live now.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean like on stage, like get it. Like I'm thinking the London Palladium, to be honest, Martin. Okay. Like I would love Musical Lyrical Lingo live at the London Palladium. Now that's hard to say.
Yes. Do you know what? I'll book my ticket now. Can I reserve?
Yes.
You'll be a guest. You'll be coming on. Yeah. No, but like that kind of idea. It's lovely to see when podcasts get to a certain size that they then go, actually, we could like hire a venue and like do a live one and have a live audience. And that would be really cool.
Yeah, that would be cool.
And I kind of like, we love doing our podcast, but we also loved being on stage once upon a time, so it'd be lovely to kind of combine the two of those together.
Mm-hmm. Let's do it. 5 years time. Let's
do it. Well, so for me, it's interesting that you say that, because that's my 1 year anniversary show is going to be that.
Oh, amazing. And when's it going to be? Have you got a date yet, or?
So like I said, I'm lucky to have a community theatre that's nearby. It's not going to be open to the public.
Okay.
I'm just going to be inviting guests that have been on the show. So if you want to come over to the UK for it, it'll be on the 30th of July. Starting to put it together now, but a live show. Start it off at the 1 year anniversary. But yeah, I think I see that as a dream as well of doing these conversation lives. I think people really enjoy them when they're working well, and there is entertainment space within it as well. And
Yeah.
to bring the two elements together that we love could be really special, couldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Lovely.
Well, and all the best with
Yeah,
that. That's so
break a leg for
exciting.
that.
That is so exciting.
And I look forward to continue to listening to your podcast. So yeah, as we finish this, I just want to say I really do appreciate you guys joining me today. And if anyone wants to find out more about you guys and find your podcast, how do we find you?
So we are on all the socials. We are on YouTube at Musical Lyrical Lingo. We are on TikTok at Musical Pod and Instagram at Musical Lyrical Lingo. And we are on all the major podcast platforms. But if you just want to find us and just listen to us, you could just type in Musical Lyrical Lingo into your search bar and our Buzz Sprout feed will come up.
Wonderful. This has been great, guys. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
No, thank you very much.
If anyone's been watching or listening, we appreciate you as well for joining this conversation. And if you want to find out more about the BTS Creative Academy, do you guys know what you should do?
Well, TikTok is where we have, but you also have your channel on YouTube.
Yeah, it's like the same as you guys, we're everywhere. Just keep it simple. Just search BTS Creative Academy. That's all you need to do. So thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.